Scientists have found Churchill's treatise on the existence of extraterrestrial life. Historians have discovered a previously unknown article by Winston Churchill about extraterrestrial life, in which he stated the possibility of the existence of living beings in distant stars, writes the journal Nature. Recently, the director of the Churchill Museum in Fulton handed me an 11-page article, Are We Alone in the Universe?, which was written by Sir Winston. Churchill's thoughts were much the same then as it is today, argue modern xenobiologists. In general, he builds his ideas about extraterrestrial life on the modern Copernican principle, the idea that the Earth is not unique, and that it does not play a special role in the life of the universe, says Mario Livio, an astrophysicist at the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore, USA. Are we alone in the universe? According to Livio, Churchill was always interested in the latest achievements of science, regularly read the most important treatises of his time, and published in his early years several popular scientific works on the evolution of life and the structure of cells. Later, he predicted the discovery of the thermonuclear reaction and pointed out its importance for the development of mankind. Churchill was the first British Prime Minister to have a science advisor. Moreover, he purposefully developed it, including for the fight against Nazi Germany. As it turned out, Churchill's interests were not limited to the theory of evolution and nuclear physics. Last year, Livio says, the director of the Churchill Museum in the famous American Fulton gave him the manuscript of the Prime Minister's article, which he wrote at the end of 1939, shortly before the outbreak of World War I. What prompted Churchill to write such an article at such a difficult time? According to Livio, the reason was that in 1938, radio stations in the United States and Britain began broadcasting a radio version of the famous War of the Worlds, a novel by H.G. Wells, written in 1898. It is possible that Churchill decided to present his own answer to the question, are we alone in the universe? In order to maintain the reputation of a science lover in the wake of the popularity of the radio novel. This article was probably supposed to appear in one of the periodicals where Churchill published his columns, but something prevented him from doing so. He subsequently completed and rewritten part of the article in the late 1950s before publishing the memoir, giving the manuscript to his friend Emery Reeves, who never published it or talked about it. The article was not known until May 2016, when it was accidentally found by the museum's director, Timothy Riley. The article, whose first reviewer, by the will of fate, was Livio, was very serious for its time. It is quite consistent with what scientists think today about the search for extraterrestrial life. Like modern xenobiologists, Churchill linked the existence of life primarily to the presence of water and the ability of living organisms to reproduce and divide. Victorian cosmosm. Another key concept of modern science about extraterrestrial life, which Churchill held, is the idea of the existence of so-called zones of life near distant stars. He understood that water in liquid form can exist only at a certain distance from the star, and that the search for life should focus on the planets located inside this zone of life. Churchill correctly determined, before serious scientists were interested in this question, that life in the solar system, in addition to Earth, could exist only on Venus and Mars, and in its other regions it is either too hot, as on Mercury, or too cold, as beyond the orbit of Mars. He considered it possible to travel to the Moon, Venus and Mars. While interstellar flights he imagined a much more difficult thing because of the large delays in the operation of communication systems. In terms of the existence of life outside the solar system, the British Prime Minister also held very modern views. He considered the Sun an ordinary star, and doubted the validity of the popular theory in his time that the planets were created as a result of an unfortunate meeting of the Sun and another star, tearing out a piece of its matter. Churchill drew attention to the fact that millions of binary stars had formed in our galaxy, which indicated the presence of an equally large number of planetary systems. In his opinion, some of these planets will be in the zone of life, and on their surface there will be the right conditions for the birth of primitive life forms. Therefore, we can say that Churchill was one of the first to seriously think about the existence of alien life, although he believed that we are unlikely to ever be able to see it. Given the existence of hundreds of thousands of galaxies, which are home to billions of stars, there is a huge chance that there are countless planets in the universe, where there are conditions favorable for the origin of life. I am not ready to believe that we are the pinnacle of cosmic evolution and that only on Earth there are living, intelligent beings, Churchill concludes his article.